to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. This is Truth and Taxation. Just a reminder, market values shown on your Truth and Taxation notice were established in the spring and are not a subject for the hearing tonight. Values for the 2021 assessment, taxes payable in 2022 were discussed and established at the local Board of Review and the County Board of Equalization held earlier this year on June 14th, 2021. And the purpose of this hearing is to explain the proposed budget and proposed tax levy for 2022 and obtain public feedback on the proposed county budget. So I'll turn it over to Administrator Ewing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a slideshow here. We have department heads in the room. We do not have any members of the public in the room at this time. If someone does show up, we'll make note that we do have the public here. Again, as Chairman Johnson stated, the purpose of the hearing is to explain our proposed budget and our proposed tax levy for 2022 and obtain public feedback on the county budget. If you're not here, the public can still stop up to the courthouse and pick up a copy of our budget, our levy. You're welcome to talk to any commissioner individually at any time or stop in and talk to our department heads as well if there are any questions regarding how we're doing our job and how we're doing our budget and our levies. Our budget timeline development, those watching the video are not going to see me, you're just going to hear my voice. I'm going to leave the slideshow up so you can hear what's going on with that. Our process is almost a year takes to go through our system here. First of all, it starts with our assessor's office where market values are determined. That occurs in the time frame of January through June. And in June of each year, our county officials begin working on all of our budgets from county administration, county commissioners' budgets, road and bridge, assessor's office. We have approximately 25 different departments that we work on budgets with. About 11 different department heads working on. Some of them do multiple budgets, but that all gets started in June. And throughout the summer months, we meet with the officials, depending on what department it is. We set up time slots at board meetings. We also set up time slots during special board meetings to get information on what the departments are proposing for their budget for the next year we're working on. So that starts in June and generally goes through June, July, and into September. And then at the end of September, on the 28th of September of this year, I brought forth the proposed budget and levy to the county board for their approval as the proposed budget and levy. So what happens after that is the information is then prepped by the auditor's office, and eventually what happens then is the tax notices go out, the truth and taxation notices go out, and they gather the information from all the other tax entities within the county as well, so that when the public gets their truth and taxation notice, they're seeing all the different taxing entities that they're working with, whether it's the city, the township, school districts, the county, special districts, or in some cases, if you have a ditch assessment, there will be a ditch assessment listed on your proposed taxing information as well. Everything is done through state statute. The state requires us to provide this information. So in November of each year, our truth and taxation notices are mailed out. They are mailed out just prior to Thanksgiving. I believe it was the 23rd or 24th they went out of November. What happens then in November through December, all your taxing entities throughout the county have to hold their meetings, and all the meeting times are listed on the truth and taxation notice that you would have received in the mail. So be it a city, be it a school district, townships are generally exempt from those due to the small sizes of them. So what we're doing now tonight is the county's portion of the truth and taxation meeting. So this time we'll be looking at our 2022 budget, and what will happen after tonight is no action will be taken at this meeting other than to hear the public or if there's any questions, and the budget then will be looked at again, and then on the 28th of December 2021, the Pipestone County Board of Commissioners will adopt the final budget and levy for the year 2022. What'll happen after that is once that's all finalized, during this time, public needs to remember that the county cannot raise the budget and the levy, but we can decrease the budget and the levy between now and the 28th of December. So if there's anything that the board wants to take another look at, we can take a look at the meeting on the 14th, which is tomorrow. We can look at it on the 28th, where we have to make the final decision on it. Then what happens after that, once all the taxing districts have met their final levies and information is presented back to the county auditor's office and is then prepped for the property tax statements, which are mailed to the public in March of 2022. And then after that, taxes become due, and then we start the whole budget process over again, and we'll do it again next year. And the year after that, the year after that. That's how the whole thing just rolls around in a cycle. The cycle doesn't change a whole lot. Faces may change and numbers may change, but the process is still the same. So at this time, I'd like to ask our assessor, Joyce Smith, to come up and talk just briefly about the assessment cycle so that the public can hear that as well. And here comes Joyce now.
Good evening. So we'll kind of bring you back to the item that Steve first had, and that was the market values being determined, and we start the process with assessment. And so the values that you see on your property truth and taxation notices actually are probably about 2 years old. Our study starts October 1st of 2019, runs through September 30th of 2020. We call that, we set those values for the 21 assessment. Those are for taxes payable in 22. So we are well down the road. And then from there, I like to show.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah, go ahead and move it. We show this every year. It's a breakdown of what agricultural is to residential, to commercial, industrial, and other. Other can be apartments, that kind of thing too. 80% this year, we didn't have a change from last year. 80% of the value that is used comes out of ag. And it's hard to see there, but what is our number for?
15 and 5.
15.5 for residential and commercial is 5%.
Yep.
So that was the same as last year. I think we'll see a shift come next year when I'm talking to you, because the way things are selling in agricultural. And actually residential has got a strong market too, so, yes.
And this is just market value. This is not the amount of taxes that are paid by agriculture and by,
Yes,
so this is just the market value.
Very good point, because these are values, so these are not how the taxes are distributed.
Yep.
Commercial pays a lot in addition to what ag or residential does too. So this is strictly value.
Thank you.
Yep. That's all I have. Any other questions?
Joy, so you were predicting that we might see some shift in this next year. Which way do you think it's going to move?
It's hard to know because it's too preliminary.
Yeah.
For the 22 assessment, but we're certainly seeing ag going up. But residential is too. So I'm hoping they kind of go up equally and we don't have a shift.
That they'll balance each other
That
out.
would be nice. So, but we'll see how that shakes out. But we're not close to making those determinations for this year yet.
Thank you, Joyce.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Joyce, for that. Next slide we've got on here that we can talk about is our levy and our program aid. Levy is the tax that we collect, and program aid is actually money that comes from the state. And I thought I'd give the public just a little bit of information on how the state figures out county program aid, which is way different than local government aids, which our cities get. What Pipestone County is receiving in 22, we're scheduled to receive $574,945. And that has stabilized quite a bit. Over a number of years, the program aid has gone down quite a bit. But what program aid is figured by, the state legislature figures out what it's going to be, And there's two categories they call. One is called county need aid, and the other one is called county tax base equalization aid. And how that's determined is based on several things here. One of them is it's an amount is distributed based on the percent share of total state households in your county that receive food stamps. The second one, it's a amount distributed based on the percent share of population age 65 and over in your county. So the older our population, you could a county could see more income or more county aid coming from the state on that. And the third segment is an amount distributed based on the percent share of total state Part 1 crimes in your county. So they base it on three things: households that get food stamps, households with populations over 65, and then a share of Part 1 crimes in our county. Now, naturally, we would like to make sure, and with our law enforcement, to keep these Part 1 crimes low, because they include crimes such as murder, manslaughter, sex offenses, robbery, aggravated assault, burglaries, motor vehicle theft, and arson. So in my estimation, it's good that we're not getting a lot on that money, because we would have major crime problems if we were. Okay. And if we were in Beltrami County, they're getting an additional $3 million because of a huge amount of out-of-home placements they have in that county. So they're gaining a lot of money on that. And so we're not anywhere near that. So county need aid is one of the first ones. And then the other one is tax-based equalization aid. And what that is a formula that the state uses. It's an equalization factor, and then the greater of either a 0.0 or 0.27% of the statewide total appropriation for tax-based equalization aid, or 95% of your county's tax-based equalization aid from the last year. How ours is broken down is we're getting $181,665 on county need aid, and we're getting the base fee on the tax-based equalization aid at $393,280. So the state looks at these formulas every year. The information comes from, the crime information comes through Department of Safety, FBI information as well. And that's how they determine what our aid is. Now, this is not to say that the state can't change these formulas. If they can get the legislature and the governor to agree on something, they could change these. But we have seen program aids as low as in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and some very low years in the mid 2010s, 2015, we were down to $174,000, and now we're back up finally to aid of $574,945. And for the public's information, our program aid is directly used for levy reduction. It goes against our levy for general revenue, and we take it right off the top. So there's no question that what we're trying to do is reduce our levy, and that's what we're using it for. Okay. So the public can see this on the screen. I've got years from 2012 to 2022 here, and you can see our levies do generally creep up a little bit each year. It's generally, you average it out, it's about a 5.5% increase of what our levy will go up every year. And those costs are due to just general things. We have salaries, we have benefits. All of those have to be paid. We have employees that work for the county. They do a very good job, and they do, it does cost money to operate the county. So we have had some large ones, we've had some small ones too. In 2021, what we decided to do at the board levels, the board decided to take a very small 1% increase on our levy. And the rationale behind that is because the board felt that the county was struggling, businesses were struggling, farmers were struggling, the people were struggling as we were in the very early years of COVID-19, and there was a lot of unknown stress and things going on as we were doing our budgets in 2020 for 21. So the board wanted to keep that low. And we asked the department heads to keep their increases at a bare minimum for the coming year, and knowing full well that if we had to exceed that, we would be using county revenue on our reserves to help pay for that. So unfortunately, what a good thing happens, what comes back on the next year, and now we're going to 2022, and we're looking at a sizable increase of 8.72% increase, which is a $638,468 increase in our levy over last year. And in '21, our levy increase was only $72,489. So it has gone up quite a bit. But what's happened there is it's basically coming back to pay is we put off purchases, we put off projects and things that needed to be done so that we would save the money last year. But unfortunately, those costs are now going up. And the other whammy we're getting is we're seeing inflation now, and we're seeing costs of everything we're doing. And '21 has not been a good year for trying to do projects. It's been hard to get material, supplies, that type of thing to do projects, and everything is increasing in quantity, unfortunately. So the next slide is our budget and our levy. This is specifically for 2022. And what you've got before you is just our breakdown of revenue, our expenses, revenues, our program aid, and how it's broken down. It's basically the same thing I use on our forms that we're doing. So our revenue expenses, find that here. Excuse me. Our county revenue, again, is our largest, other than road and bridge, is our largest expenditure, which covers about 40% of our total budget is general revenue, and that includes most of the county budgets on the levy revenue sheet I have, all the way from county commissioner's budget, all the way through the sheriff's department, all the way through probation, through extension, economic development, and assessor's office, recorder's office, attorney, information technology, elections, data processing, human resources, our audit costs, our auditor treasurer's department, county administrator, court administration, and a myriad of others that go along with the revenue side of this. So revenue expenses, we're looking at $8,628,134 of expenses. Revenues we're looking at bringing in is $3,164,574, which is about 24.5% of the revenue we were projecting. And again, as I mentioned on the last slide, county program aid, 100% of that, the $574,945, is going against our revenue account. So our proposed levy for 2022 in revenue is $4,888,615, and the final levy that we've got there after our program aid is $4,370,244. So it's a $518,371 increase, or 11.86 over 21. Road and Bridge, very thankful for them. They do have a lot of expense, but they also bring in almost 70% of the revenue to the county, and a lot of that money is due to state, federal funding that we get, and that helps us a lot to obviously do the road projects that we do. And our county engineer is here, and he's going to talk about a little bit of his information in just a couple of slides here. Another required expense is what's called Health and Human Services, or some people call it welfare. It is a requirement of the county to provide health and human services spending, and the county is a member of Southwest Health and Human Services, which is a multi-county consortium. And then our levy for health and human services, which is our taxable amount, is $1,501,256. At this point, that's approximately a 3.29% increase over 2021. Another item of good news beyond this, if you're looking at the sheet on the screen, is our hospital general obligation bonds. That was approximately, I believe, a 20-year bond. That is paid off in full as of last year, and the remaining that we had this year was some interest expenses to be paid in 22, so there is no levy. So right now the county has no bonded debt whatsoever. So we paid out in 21 $221,593, and that bond is now finished. And that was a bond that was voter approved for work about 20 years ago at the Pipestone County Medical Center. So that is paid off in full. And the county has benefited greatly on those as interest rates were declining. They refinanced several times and got interest rates down and down. So right now, the county has no bonded debt. Unlike some counties that have many, many millions and millions of dollars of bonded debt, right now we do not. Ditch funding is the next one down there. That's about 0.5%, and this is a non-levy department. We do have a judicial ditch in Pipestone County, and that does require maintenance. And the ditch committee approached the county board this last budget year and decided they needed to do some ditch cleaning and maintenance work on the county ditch, and to be paid back in 2022. Those costs are an assessment to those that are along the ditch system that benefit from it, so that $112,360 will be assessed to the benefiting property owners on the ditch system. So that is a non-levy part of our budget as well. Beyond that, we have restricted accounts and non-levy accounts. Those are outside of the levy as well. Those are different budgets that basically support themselves through costs, expenses going out and fees coming in. So those are non-levy department items, and they show up at $735,000 of expenses and $749,236. The reason there's a difference between the two is some years the amounts in those departments goes down. Next year it can rise as the income comes in. But those are restricted and outside of the levy. So basically what we're levying for are our general revenue, our road and bridge, and our health and human services are the main things we're levying for. Next slide I'm showing you. It's interesting I put in here, these are all the counties in our southwest region of the state, and we poll each other. County administrators get together and we send information back and forth, and we tell each other what our 2022 preliminary levies are, just the same thing we're talking about tonight. They're having their truth and taxation meetings this month as well. And then just a number that we try to come up with that seems to work is just what's your levy, and divide that by your population to come up with a taxes per capita amount. We find that I did use our 2020 census data, which we're at 9,424 population in our county, and our taxes per capita are $844.64. And again, we're looking at our levy of $7,959,856. It really doesn't tell you a whole lot. I mean, you can take out the larger counties, take out Lyon and Nobles, and some of those because they have such larger populations than ours. So we tend to look more closely to our neighbors, real close to us, like Rock County and even Lincoln County and Murray County, as to where they're at on their costs and what they're looking at. So we're at 844. Rock is at 698. Murray's at 1,010. And Lincoln is 1,074. And again, the populations changes on that, where Lincoln County has 5,648, we're at 94. So it's just some information of what's going on around our areas, why that's on there.
Steve, just an observation, looking at the per capita, and again, like you said, the larger populated counties, so it's really not an apples to apples comparison by any means. But another comment is, for example, it has nothing to do with tax capacity either. It's just strictly population. So Marshall, for example, has got the college. The college students add to the total population up there. So it's a number that I don't think we can put much stock in.
Nope, I don't disagree. It's just it's information to just show what other counties are doing around us and see where they're at based on their levies, I guess, is what the biggest thing is, yep. What it costs them to do business. So the population number, you're right, does not change a lot of things on that at all.
And I also know they have significant bonded debt in Lyon County, which they've used to keep their levy down, which I don't feel is a good use of resources to, pay interest just to keep your levy down. Doesn't make sense because you're just wasting money, but.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Okay, the next couple slides are on our impacts and what the county is doing for 2022. A couple of things we have working on here, department staffing and operations. We are planning on a new hire in the assessor's office. That's an appraiser position. That'll be planned for 2022. So there'll be one new staff person set up for that. And our health and human services levy, I mentioned that on a couple of slides earlier, is up 3.29% on that instead of 2.29, forgive me. of $1,501,256, so just over 3% on that. Personnel costs, we did see approximately an 8% average health insurance increase for the year 2022. We're a member of the Prime Health Plan. It helps us with our costs, and we do have single and family coverage as well. We are in the second year of our 3-year contract with our unions. We're looking at a 2.5% increase in the pay plan effective January 1st. And then when the applicable step increases go for positive evaluations for the employees, they would receive a 2.5% increase as well for 2022. And for 2023, that'll be the third year, and that COLA increase for 23 will also be 2.5%. Operations-wise, on our property insurance, we did see a property casualty increase of 21.5%. And the largest factor for that is we're a member of the Minnesota Counties Insurance Trust, and we share in the costs. We're a group, and we're seeing a $96,000 increase, and this is not necessarily attributable to Pipestone County, but there's been a lot more damages to things like vehicles, and unfortunately a lot of those are sheriff's and law enforcement vehicles. They get pretty well beat up and they get destroyed. And then also another area that's unfortunate is that there have counties that operate jails, and some of our counties around the state, they have had unfortunate situations where there have been deaths in custody, suicides, that type of thing in the jails, and those are having to be settled with the insurance company, so they're seeing increases in that as well. Fortunately, we're not seeing those here. We do have our fair share of damages to vehicles and equipment, things like that, but overall, because we're in a shared pool, our costs went up for that.
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
if I may. MCIT did report that they're not able to get a lot of reinsurance programs either, so that's been a factor in that too. They're able, they only can get the one main insurance and not able to get the reinsurance to cover anything that exceeds that, and that's excuse me, it's exclusively to public entities. I don't know why they're getting segregated with it, but I imagine due to law enforcement costs, but it's unfortunate. I guess they're not alone there, so.
Right, the law enforcement in jails is a real big leader in those costs going up. Getting hard to find coverage on it.
Are Minneapolis and St. Paul in that, or are
No.
they self-insured,
No,
don't
they're
they?
self-insured.
Yeah.
I believe there are 7 counties that are self-insured, if I remember right. That sound right? 6 or 7.
Mostly Metro.
Yeah.
Yeah, all Metro, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
On the positive side of that, our workers' comp saw a 0% increase over last year, so those are remaining stable. So workers' comp injuries are doing well, and that's a good thing. We don't like to see our employees get hurt as well, so we're seeing a good 0% increase is excellent. So that, over the years, that has come down, and we can attribute that to safety programs, people being safer at work. We are in the pool with the Pipestone County Medical Center on our work comp. We work together on that. They have their own property and casualty insurance, but their workers' comp is through Minnesota County's Insurance Trust, and they do pay their own share of that as well. Other impacts on the next slide. Infrastructure, looking at some building and grounds projects for 2022, including a courthouse fire alarm notifier panel system. The system that is, there are no parts available for it anymore. It's out of date. It's been in the building since 1995-96 when the courthouse went through the large remodeling project. Other things you're going to find over time. The next one is flooring and courthouse carpeting and tile. That is also 26, 27 years old. That goes back to the remodeling time as well. We have found that we need a coping cap over the law enforcement center roof. We're in the process of replacing 2 segments of that now, and we're going to have to do more of that on the top so we can safeguard the building so we don't get water down the block and the brick. Noticing that we have to either repair or replace our east side courthouse entrance doors. Those are the ones that the public use the majority of the time, and those doors are not doing well. That's too many years in use, so we're going to have to change those out. Then we have our law enforcement entrance glass roof needs to be repaired or replaced. We're getting some leakage in that. And we have about $230,000 earmarked for those projects. Unfortunately, due last year to COVID and the year before that, we were unable to do the fairgrounds bathrooms remodel, so we have $15,000 earmarked for restrooms in the blue exhibit building to be worked on this year as well. Comments from the board members?
They gave a lot of trouble this fair, I know. Plumbers were there every day, at least.
Didn't help what they were putting down the toilets either.
Well,
It's getting old. It's infrastructure is old out there for sure. Pipestone County is a beneficiary of wind production tax in 2022. We're looking at $630,000 of income coming into the county from wind production tax, and those are generally due in purpose by Stone Ray and the Lake Menton 2 repower, and those payments began back in 2020. And then we have earmarked $180,000 a year to pay back the central school demolition, and we'll be on our third year of that at this point. So we put those monies into a reserve for that. At this time, we're going to go into the slides on the road and bridge, and at this point, I'd like to ask our county engineer, Nick Bergman, to come up and give us the highlights on the road and bridge.
Good evening. I'm Nick Bergman, the highway engineer. I'm going to go over what we have going on in the levy for 2022 here. The initial proposed road and bridge levy of $1,569,985 represents a 23% increase over 2021, or a 20.1% increase over 2020. This increase is really large because we just included $220,000 that hasn't been in there before. That money was being used to pay off an old hospital loan, but now that that's paid off, that's being put into road and bridge to put towards road projects. So if that money didn't get put into our budget, we would have a 5.8% increase over 2021, or a 3.2% increase over 2020. And the point of bringing that up, those last two numbers there, is just to show that our operating costs haven't gone up a whole lot. Our 2022 budget includes the following major expenses: $153,000 for a tractor mower, $140,000 for a tractor backhoe, $14,700 for an extended warranty on a motor grader, $230,000 for an excavator, $34,000 for a pup trailer, $3,300 for a gutter broom attachment for sweeping gutters, and $5,000 for a plasma cutter. Our levy does not include any efforts to increase our reserves. And this slide shows our maintenance costs over the last 20 years. And as you'd expect, they're steadily increasing.
Questions or comments from the board?
Do you think the increases will be more significant moving forward, just seeing how prices of everything?
I would imagine, yeah. Yeah. Equipment costs go up, and that goes into that, our costs every year, so I would expect to see a spike now, but we'll see.
Thank you.
This next slide is on efforts that the county does to try to reduce or contain our budget and our levies. It's been quite a few years ago now that we joined Southwest Health and Human Services. Been what? Has it been 10 yet?
Probably.
Pretty close to 10 years. So again, we're consolidated with 6 other counties in southwest Minnesota. And again, our levy annually to that this year, as I mentioned earlier, is $1,501,256. And I would not even hazard a guess what it would cost us if we were doing our own health and human services in the county as well. I think we could be 5 times that, I would think, very easily, if not more. We did consolidate several years back with UCAP, so they're now providing transit within the county, and that's basically a net zero to us. And our only cost is occasionally we put in an amount due to our contract for a small portion of a bus expense. And last year it was like $10,000 we put towards that. So it's very minimal costs to the county to provide transportation, where in years past the county was the operator of the transit system, and that's been changed. We do have 2 employees are on voluntary reduction in hours. They're currently at 32 hours per week, so that does save a little bit of salary. Several years ago, we did combine our emergency management, our emergency medical services director into one position, and our veteran service officer is now tasked with also being a part-time, our deputy emergency management director too, so saving some dollars on that as well. The county several years ago did implement a wheelage tax. Right now that's generating approximately $162,000, and that benefits the road and bridge fund, as Engineer Bergman did report. And also the county did several years ago institute an aggregate tax to those that take gravel out of our gravel pits in the county, and that generates $10,625 to the county, and also the townships that are in that do generate some income from that aggregate tax as well, and that does get used to offset road and bridge expenses. And beyond that, several years ago, we have a sign technician at the Road and Bridge Department, is also a solid waste technician at our recycling building, which is right next door to the highway shop. And we encourage the public in the county to please get behind our solid waste program, and also our recycling facility, which is open every Wednesday of the week, so you can drop off your hazardous materials, that type of thing, oils, appliances, all kinds of things like that. We'd much rather see it be brought to the hazardous waste facility than to being dumped in the ditches around the county. That gets very expensive to haul stuff out of there. And occasionally, annually, they do have a tire recycling day out at the fairgrounds as well, which at a very small cost, the residents can get rid of tires as well, and we just as soon see it done that way, or taken to a private person, then obviously to be dumped in our ditches as well. So, county also is a cost-saving item several years ago as well, went to a private audit firm versus the state auditor, and our average annual cost for our audit, which is a requirement of the state of Minnesota, so we have to do it, is approximately $30,000. And again, I'll reiterate that the county, starting in 2022, has no bonded debt. All the payments are paid off in that. So with that, that brings me to the end of my slides. And just so the public knows, there are still no members of the public at our meeting tonight. Hope you'll be watching the video. And again, if you have questions regarding anything we've talked about tonight, please feel free to contact me. My phone number is 507-825-1200. You're welcome to speak with your county commissioners that represent your district as well, and we can get you the information you're looking for. So with that, I'll end our meeting. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Roskamp has something.
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
Talking about solid waste matters, and the county dodged a bullet. The Herm Boss acreage is all cleaned up. All the tires that were there are gone. Wow. And so the county is not going to get hung with that.
Great. That's great news.
Yeah.
They all went to Sioux Falls. If somebody would accept them there.
Steve, I also had a question as well, too, just a comment on the solid waste and household hazardous waste. If you'd explain a little bit about Kyle Kerr's program, a lot of that money doesn't come again out of our levy, it comes from the SCORE funds. Can you explain how the SCORE funds work?
Basically, the recycling fees, as Commissioner Wildermuth mentioned, those come to us through basically state grants. They pay for that. I think we're getting about $230,000 a year in SCORE money for that. Does that sound right?
That sounds right from what
somewhere in that range. That sticks in my mind, and when I looked at the budget, it's like 229. So that works with that. So those monies helped us get the green recycling bins. They're also helping pay for the small town that has the recycling facility, the little buildings in them where the people drop stuff off for our rural residents, that type of thing. It also helps keep the household hazardous waste building functioning as well, and helps pay the costs for technician and staff to be out there to provide the services to the county as well. So it's a very valuable program, And we'd obviously like to make sure that the state continues to fund that at a reasonable level as well, and hopefully increase it as well, too.
Well, and there's
We'd like
also
to
a
see
solid waste assessment fee on everybody's
Correct.
tax bill.
Yes.
That actually brings in more than the score money.
Yep.
But we also have one of the lowest solid waste assessment fees in the area. I mean, a lot of the counties around us are twice as much, or in some cases, 3 times as much.
Correct, good.
And I think we're only one of 7 or 8 counties statewide that have no bonded debt.
Mhm.
So not many are in that position.
As I said at the beginning, we're in county's in a good financial position, just that this year we're looking at a larger increase in our levy due to projects and work that we didn't do in '21, that we kept our levy low specifically so that we wouldn't get hit, but it is coming back a little bit now. So I would envision in future years, depending on what happens, we could, sure would like to see more wind power in our county. We have issues with transmission capacity. I think we're pretty well maxed out on that, so that's not an issue. The biggest thing that the county can do, obviously, we try to rein in the expenses as best we can, but we really need to get more income, and not necessarily from the taxpayers. We need more dollars coming in. It's all about the revenue in and what we spend. So we need to, if we could generate more income coming, it would be great. Wind power is one of those things that would help us a lot as well. So it's all about the numbers. The expenses are there, but a wiser administrator than me told me it's all about the money that comes in. So that's all I've got. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn the meeting back over to you at this point. Unless there are
Any
any more
other questions or
from the
comments from
commissioners or
anyone?
department heads or anything?
Not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Okay, good.